What's up, Soul Family? Coming at you with another collective read. This one is going to be on... So I always pull the first one, and it's going to be Hammock with taking a vacation, physically or mentally. So already I feel like this is for people who tend to be, maybe you're similar to me, where you have this mentality of if you have any kind of free time or any downtime, that you need to be productive, that you need to be working, that you need to be taking action in some capacity. And then maybe if you are then not doing such, you're then guilting yourself or feeling as if you are not moving towards your goals in an efficient way. And maybe if that's not the case, maybe you're just somebody who's been working hard for a very long time and you are burning out. Or maybe you just need a vacation. Maybe this is a call to prevent yourself from going on the edge of burnout, and simply it's a call to go enjoy something and take time off from whatever your experience is in some capacity. I know I have the tendency to push myself through burnout, and it's not the healthiest thing. And lately I've been trying to honor when I've had periods of not feeling as energized or able to create or post content the way that I would really like to. But let's pull more cards and let's see what's going on. If you guys are interested in a one-on-one reading, you can do so by directly messaging me or with the link in the bio. It'll be $35 for the first reading, and that's going to be for up to 20 minutes. And that's about a standard reading. If you want to go more in depth, then we can go from there. If it doesn't resonate, then I will simply refund you. But that being said, let's jump right in. So I'll pull a couple more tea leaves, or pull a couple tea leaves. We have love, Axe with forces working against you. We have wealth. And then we have Cain with pay attention to your health. And then we had two cards that fell out. So dealings or relationship with a woman. And then we have Shield with you need to defend yourself. So with the card you need to defend yourself, I don't really want to ever push too much into the aspects of kind of pushing worry onto somebody. But what it would make me feel is that maybe, like, I have experiences in workspaces where there can be people who tend to sometimes be very antagonistic or very aggressive or very kind of bold or kind of pushy with their energy. And I don't want to use the word bold. Bold isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I would say maybe a little bit more abrasive would be the more appropriate word to use. And basically not really caring about what another person feels and wanting to pretty much just dominate whatever space they're in. Or just petty people, passive-aggressive people. When it comes to just being and dealing with antagonistic people in general, I think that one of the healthiest things that people have to learn how to do is learn where there is a line to draw and when to stand up for yourself and when to defend yourself. I am all for being kind, giving people grace, because we have our bad days, we have our bad moments, we even have our bad seasons. But what I am not for is simply allowing somebody to continue to take advantage of your energy, your kindness, your space, or even if somebody might have bad intentions towards you, simply turning a blind eye and then not basically nipping it in the bud or taking care of it. In work, that could look like you simply starting to call HR and interacting with them. It could be you starting to find another job. It could be you starting to do different things that will allow you to defend and keep what you have built. If it's a relationship, then maybe there are people who have perspectives that are kind of like attacking your relationship and trying to come at it, because one of the cards that did come up is love. So if it's in the context of relationship, one of the ways you can defend it is by simply being there for your partner and not allowing people to simply just get away with, especially if it's like family and friends and stuff like that, thinking that it's okay to speak down or derogatorily, whatever. Derogatorily, I don't know. You get the point I'm trying to make. I think the biggest thing is then at that point, doing what you can to defend your partner in any capacity. You know, it goes on and on and on. When it says defend yourself, it could go on in any infinite different ways or experiences. But what I'm getting at is I don't think it's healthy to simply allow things to overrun you versus you allowing yourself to know when it's appropriate to stand your ground. And you don't always got to be the person to like argue with everybody and defend yourself over every little thing. One of the biggest things that you'll have to learn how to do is have the discernment on when it is worth speaking up and when it is worth fighting back and when it is worth standing your ground. And I think that also comes with experience. But if it is getting to a point where you believe or you're starting to maybe get overrun or taken advantage of, then it's very important that you draw that boundary, because people will do the absolute most and think they can get away with it if you let them. And that being said, I think that could be why you need a vacation. Maybe because of the fact that you're dealing with people that you even have to defend yourself from and you're not in a space that's healthy. Maybe that's why you need a vacation as well. There could be countless reasons that you're being called to kind of take a step back. Okay, the Six of Pentacles. So this makes me feel as if what you're defending yourself from is a situation where you are overgiving, where you're pouring too much into something, where you are giving more of yourself than you are getting back in some capacity, and that there is not a balance in what you are then putting outward. Maybe it's a vacation from love. Maybe it's a vacation with your love. Maybe there's something having to do with not allowing yourself to continue to, and I'm not saying that we have to give from the space of expecting something back, but not continuing to pour into something that's not giving anything, something that is pretty much draining. It's like, imagine trying to pour into a cup that has a giant hole at the bottom. Essentially, you might be wasting your time if what you're pouring into doesn't have the capacity to actually hold the content of what you're spilling out. Oops, wrong way. Let us see what comes out. The Four of Wands. So I think the Four of Wands a lot of time is about homecoming and harmony. So maybe this is a lot more about a mental break versus actually going out anywhere. The Four of Swords, I'm sorry, the Four of Wands, I apologize, has a lot to do with harmony, celebration, and joyous times. So maybe it's about taking a mental break if you don't have the capacity to actually leave your physical area and simply withdrawing and enjoying what you have already either built, maybe just enjoying time to yourself. It could be anything in general with the Four of Wands. Maybe you have accomplished something pretty big that you need to take the time to celebrate. Or maybe things are finally coming together in a way that you should simply acknowledge and recognize versus allowing yourself to simply gloss over. And maybe that is what the vacation is. It's like things are forming. You have put the work in, and now it's simply time to take a step back while you continue to gather energy to take the next couple steps towards whatever goal that you want. I think one of the important things that I'm learning as well with my creative flow is that there are times where people produce more than others. That's why there are times like where you have some artists that produce album after album, and then some artists will take a couple years or take a couple months and then produce another album. The flow of creation and the flow of simply us being is very different for everybody. And then we have the Two of Swords. So maybe you've been feeling like you're stuck and stagnant in some way, shape, and form. And that's not always necessarily the case. Sometimes we feel like we're stuck in some way, but we're not always aware of what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe you're really uncertain of how things are going to move forward or how things will shift. But one of the things that I'm getting better at when it comes to manifestation is simply knowing that as you take steps forward, the platform and the path will be more or less set as you take each step. It's not always something that just you look on the horizon and you see everything. It's almost like reality in certain cases renders what you're experiencing piece by piece by piece. And I'd say in almost every case that's what it is. But I know sometimes we have big goals that can be accomplished very fast. But I'd like to think for the vast majority of us that are trying to manifest bigger things, sometimes that takes a little bit more time. And sometimes it takes taking that step after step after step into the darkness, into not necessarily having your eyes open or not open, but having a blindfold over your eyes while you're not able to fully see what the path is. And if that is the case, really just trusting your intuition and trusting that as you take each step that what you need will pretty much be given to you is the best approach I can. And everybody has different approaches, but the best approach that I've learned to embody is everything's happening as it needs to. I'm exactly where I need to be, and all I need to do is my part and then let reality do whatever else. Like, I just need to mind my business and allow reality to take care of the rest, essentially. And one of the things that I've always said is there have been times where I've been in periods of rest, and because I've allowed myself to relax, manifestations have come through for me. There are times where I've been worried about how I'm going to get money, and then I decided to just go out to the bar and drink, and then I got a tarot reading, and they paid generously and tipped on top of it. Like, you never know what can happen when you allow yourself to simply relax and allow reality to fill in the gaps to whatever you're experiencing in the moment. And it's not always easy, but that's sometimes the best we can do. And I'm going to take this to a part 2, so I'll see you there. So this is part 2 to the last reading. If you are looking at this on YouTube, then this is all just one seamless video, so you're just hearing me kind of announce this for no reason. But let's jump right back in. Oh, card's just jumping out. And then we have the Ace of Wands. So one of the things that we're always told to, that I'm always guided to do at least, is to follow my passion, follow what lights me up, follow what my intuition is kind of showing me to. And a lot of times that's led me to experience what I needed to in the moment. And it's given me large amounts of clarity, or at least boosts towards what I want in the long run. And it doesn't always pop up when I'm expecting it. It doesn't always pop up when I really want it. But I can attest that most times things pop up when I release resistance and when I really need it. Like, there have been times like where I have really needed money, and because of that genuine need in the moment, reality has conformed and has made a path out of nowhere. And there have been times like where I was frustrated about not having something in the moment, and then I allowed myself to relax in that moment and remind myself that reality can pretty much be malleable and resolve whatever issue I'm going through. And I've seen resolutions pop up to me literally the moment I've allowed myself to take a step back, relax, and change the energy that I'm in. And I don't want to make this seem as if this is something that's going to be 100% for everybody, because in that exact same breath, I've had times like where I've been out doing readings and I've had like a candle that I've lit to try and attract in money, or I've had my charm jar where I've shaken. And when I say I couldn't even exaggerate. Like, not even a second went by that I performed those actions and I was able to draw in a client. But there have been times like where I've still been trying everything in my power to draw in abundance, and I simply was not able to. So I'm not going to pretend as if this is something that is 100%, or that's something that will always work or the way that we're hoping for. But what I can attest is it's almost like something that the more you get comfortable in knowing that it will work, it's like the easier it happens. And at the end of the day, regardless of those situations, I still ended up getting what I needed when I needed it. It might not have been when I wanted it in that moment, but regardless, all the things I needed were still taken care of and met. And I think, again, the more we practice a couple things. A, allowing our mind to relax and allowing ourselves to experience things. Sometimes the Ace of Wands is like that spark of inspiration that comes in out of nowhere that will give us inspiration to act on something. And I'm not going to lie, I forgot my second point, but I'm going to move on and keep pulling cards because I guess it just wasn't worth mentioning. But if I remember, I'll, I guess, say it later. And then we have the Knight of Cups. So most times I explain this card, when I think about the Knight of Cups, knights are very action-oriented. They're very seeking. They're always trying to go out on their adventure and do things. And cups are about things that fulfill us, things that leave us very content and happy and joyful. So the Knight of Cups to me is a very strong indication to follow and pursue the things that give you joy. And sometimes, again, we have to intentionally do that. And I think this ties back into the concept of taking a vacation, either mentally or physically, because when we allow ourselves to enjoy things, when we allow ourselves to actually relax and experience not being so tense, many times the resolution comes up. Reality is very much so what we're focused on is what tends to be perpetrated. And I'm not saying that you're not allowed to think about problems and have resolution pop in, but if you are holding too tight onto the problem to the point where the only thing you can think of is the actual issue itself, then many times it takes a little bit longer for reality to give you a resolution or for things to form in your favor. So the more that we're allowed to sit into the energy of ease and comfort and know that things will work out, then it allows us to experience that reality a lot faster. One of the things that I think about when it comes to manifestation is that scene in Harry Potter where they're getting strangled by the roots. And Hermione is like, I know it seems crazy, but you just have to relax into it, basically. Like, you have to relax and let whatever those roots are kind of like stop being agitated by your energy, more or less. And that's kind of like how manifestation works many times. The more you allow yourself to relax and not overthink or pour energy into the scenario that you don't want to happen, the faster the resolution tends to come in my experience. Sometimes it's almost instant, sometimes it takes time, and sometimes it's everything in between. But above all else, I think the mindset that we have going into what we're trying to experience can definitely make things a lot easier for us, especially when we simply believe that things are always working out for us and that we're exactly where we need to be when we need to be there. And then we have the High Priestess. So much of this journey, so much of stepping into spirituality and even just being a human in general is trusting your intuition. Sometimes it's something that will lead you to what you're hoping for. Sometimes things don't necessarily go right. But I would say that if we are accurately interpreting our intuition, then 9 out of 10 times, if not almost 10 out of 10 times, things are going to work out the way that they should. I'd say it's at times like where we're not able to follow our intuition to the best or to the highest capacity, or where maybe we might be mistaking anxiety or other emotions for intuition, where things go wrong. But our intuition is something that spans so far past what this physical body can even really reach many times, and the more we tend to trust and lean into that, the more that we tend to follow a path that is a little bit easier to unfold. Like when you have a gut feeling and you viscerally feel something, and we have to also keep in mind, like, anxiety can also sometimes produce a similar feeling. But if you have like a gut feeling that you should just do something, or you just need to act on something, or you should just take motion in some way, shape, and form, then it's always important to trust that, because that's like our built-in guidance system. It is our intuition, it is what we feel at a deep down level, it is what we feel like at our core. And what I'm learning as well is a lot of times our intuition isn't something that's going to give us a lot of fear or anxiety. It's something that will oftentimes come in a very quiet or calm sense that will allow us to maybe quell or calm those anxieties versus having to exacerbate them. And then on the bottom of the deck, we have the Magician, which is my favorite card. So the Magician is all about knowing that you have the power to change and manifest and resolve things as your will intends. And when you think about magicians in general, when you think about shows and when you watch shows in general, when you see two magicians fighting, it's oftentimes who has the ability to imagine the battlefield in their favor. Like if somebody's throwing a fireball, then can this mage then conjure a shield or something that will then prevent that fireball from coming? Even when it comes to, sometimes you've seen shows where somebody will throw something directly at another magician, and then that magician just completely transmutes and turns what is being thrown at them into like something completely different, some new object, something that's not even like what was initially tossed at them. So I think a lot of this physical journey is learning how to become the magician and learning how to use what we have use what resources we have to our disposal. And sometimes the resources we have could be spite, negative energy, or things that we perceive to be negative. But there have been countless people who have used what is perceived to be negative as a way to fuel them. And it's not to say that there are not other factors, but that is one of the ways that we are able to turn the negative experiences that we have into something positive. And countless people, we hear about it every day, where people have turned some of the most horrendous things into something positive for them. And it's not that anybody deserves to go through that, or that our souls will even orchestrate those things specifically for us to go through, because sometimes things just happen that are unfortunate, but it is in our capacity to turn those things that are unfortunate into something greater. And it's not always easy, and I don't want to make that seem as if I am condoning or promoting suffering. I think there's too much spirituality that is centered around glorifying the act of suffering. But if something bad happened, you might as well get some positive use out of it. Like, if something negative happened, you might as well allow reality to then shift it to something positive. And the more that you believe that something positive will come out of whatever interaction that you thought went wrong, the better things will go for you. But that being said, peace and blessings, you guys. I will catch you in the next reading, and I will try my hardest to be more consistent.